Morena, we have a quorum, so I'd like to welcome you to the last meeting of the Transport and Infrastructure Committee for the year. I bring the sincere apologies from Andy Baker. He has flu, and I'm sure you'll all join with me in wishing him a speedy recovery, but he will be online listening today. We now have a quorum, so I would like to open the meeting, and we have apologies thus far received from Hakura member Billy Brown. We have apologies for lateness from Councillor Hills and Councillor Turner, who is now here, so I'll change that. I will move those. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lee. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary say no. That is carried. We move now to the request for attendance by electronic link. We have requests from the Chair, Andy Baker, Councillor Darby, Councillor Ferry, Councillor Fully, Councillor Leone, Councillor Newman, Councillor Walker and Councillor Filipina. I will move those. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Lee. I'll put it. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary say no. That is carried. So moving through the agenda, we have no petitions that I'm aware of. We have no requests for local board input. So we come to agenda item 8, and we are very pleased to have John Bridgman, the Chair, and Pat Brocky, the CE of City Rail Link, to update us. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Chair. Kia ora, good morning. Sorry, just trying the technology. It's going to go fast forward. I'm not sure where I'm pointing. Okay.
Kia ora, are we connected up to the room?
I'm sorry, I missed, Councillor Ferry, what you were saying.
Kia ora, I was just asking if we were connected up to the actual room, because I can't see the room, like the town hall.
We'll check on the technology for you. We're just awaiting the report from CRL Limited, but could you check for us later whether or not our councillors online can have connectivity?
Yes, sorry, Councillor Fletcher, I can see you now. That camera wasn't on before, but it is now, so we're good. Thank you.
For confirming that. Yes.
Thank you, Chair. Quickly go through the slides and can take questions along the way. Very continued strong health and safety performance. We're very proud of our health and safety record on the project. Continue to be no major incidents of note, but we're still in that systems testing phase, so we're not out of the woods there, but good news to report there. We're moving into completing the hard construction phase of the project, or in other words, the physical works, hopefully by the end of the year, and that will mean less disruption to businesses around the sites, less cones, road closures. That would also include the urban realm. The streetscape works around the sites will also be largely completed by the end of 2025, which is good news. And for those who have seen the sites recently, you'll see evidence of that great progress on the physical completion of the works. Paper project is maybe a less noteworthy part of a project, but it's very important because it does require a lot of work to document the work that's been done. We need that paper in order to hand over to Auckland Transport and Kiwi Rail. It does typically always a challenge on large projects. Some additional resources are being provided to this part of the project, but we can't achieve handover of the asset to Key Rail and AT without that. And to give you an example, I might have mentioned this previously, but for drawings, we call them as-built of the project, which effectively document the final completed works. There are 26,000 of those, and we're about halfway through that. So there's still quite a bit of work to do there. On the station systems testing and commissioning, I said we're over 50% complete. There are over 16,000 tests, so we're over halfway through that. But the next 2 to 3 months are very important in that phase as we look to try and complete the systems testing and commissioning. I'll talk a little bit more about what's involved in that towards the end of the presentation. Emergency services preparations continue, working very closely with FENZ, Police, St John, and then testing. We will test different emergency scenarios, which I'll touch on shortly. And we're still hoping for formal handover of the project in 2026 in time for passengers to ride the train next year. I'm not sure where I'm going to be pointing. There we go. We'll continue to work very closely with our partners, Auckland Transport and Kiwi Rail, also Auckland One Rail, as we work on the full program of work which takes us through from practical completion of City Rail through to day one operations. And that includes factoring in the network rebuild that Kiwi Rail are undertaking, again, all ready for handover and then day one operations. There's a block of line program which you're aware of that's required for the rail network rebuild through the Christmas period, and there'll be some smaller blocks of line required for additional testing that we do. We're testing against the full timetable in 2026. There is some testing that we've moved to our part of the project, the practical or prior to practical completion. So we've moved some testing that was after our completion to before our completion, just to be more efficient with the work process. And that creates some efficiencies in timetable for all parties. So that's a positive. There are cost pressures, but we're pleased to report that we still remain within our approved funding envelope. There is still much to get through, as I mentioned, with testing, and we will have a better view of progress towards the back end of 2025 as we make more progress on those various stages over the next 2 to 3 months. I can report there are no currently red flags, major red flags that would concern us with the works in progress, and that's always a positive. You never quite know what's around the corner, but at this stage there aren't any red flags. It's just a lot of work to get through, and that's a positive thing. So we look forward to Aucklanders riding the train in 2026. Probably pointing us in the wrong direction. Get there eventually. Okay, hopefully it stops there. This will be very familiar to you, just down the road. One of our entrances at Te Waihoatu, two entrances in fact, in Victoria Street. You'll also see we've nearly completed the works at the Bluestone Wall, which is looking very good and no longer disrupting Barclay Suites. Then there's the remaining works that just go up the slip lane there towards Victoria Street. But the excellent progress, and as we finish the works outside of the stations, we can move the fencing in to provide less disruption to commuters and businesses around the stations.
Are you able to control the slides at your end as controlled, as it were?
The technology is quite challenging in this room. Lata,
thank you.
could you please take control of this?
Thank you. This will all look very familiar to you. Te Waihoatu is the most advanced of the three stations. There's still works continuing there, mainly on the system side, but the stations themselves and platforms are looking complete, apart from some additional signage. The entranceway at Wellesley Street is also being worked on currently, but again, they're in very good shape. I'll move to the next slide. At Mungafo, again, looking very good. When we had the VIP test train, works accelerated further. You can see the ticket machines there. Also at the bottom, I'm sorry, I've moved to the next slide already. At the bottom right-hand side, the station, that depicts the Station Group Control Centre. So that's where AT, AOR, Key Rail will have desks and will be functioning, operating the stations from the Station Group Control Centre at Mungafo. We've now got people working inside the Station Group Control Centre, which is another sign of progress that's being made. At Karanga Ahape, you can see the entrance there at Beresford Square, that it's almost complete. In fact, there are discussions going on with Auckland Transport at the moment about moving some of the fencing in to, again, provide less disruption to the businesses around the station. So those are discussions that are going on currently. But it is looking very good. It's looking at a high level of completion. Thank you. This is probably a couple of weeks old now. The Kauri, or the snail feature at Karanga Ahape, the Mercury Lane entrance is now complete. So it looks stunning. There are 3 snail features and they've been quite intricate in terms of installation, but they are complete and look fantastic. You can also see on the top right-hand side, that photo depicts all the lighting's in place, ceilings are complete, again, looking pretty impressive. There are things that bottom right, or bottom, sorry, the centre one bottom, there's a large gap there at the bottom of the photo. That's where the media screens will go in. So AT are contracting that at the moment, so they will follow too, not too far away. And that's quite a large, you can tell that's going to be quite a large media screen. This is all part of the commercial opportunities that the stations will bring. And then on the bottom right is the Maori lunar calendar depicted there. The Karanga Ahape was the station that was furthest behind. It's the most complex, narrow, many floors, but they're largely complete in terms of the floor finish, which is an example in the centre top. But they're all looking in that state now, which is really truly impressive. Karanga Ahape has accelerated their works in the last few months, and it's looking terrific. It's worth touching on, thank you, it's worth touching on emergency services engagement. Very good relationships continue with the emergency responders, again, FENS, police, Hate Hone, St John. To give you an example, some of the testing, we call it stage 6 in our program, but it involves testing scenarios such as collision derailment, multi-threat scenario at the stations or tunnel, fire in the stations or tunnel. One that's probably more common is just intruders, and there are systems for that, but these are all part of the stage 6 testing that we will do in the early part of 2026 with our partners. But it'll give you a flavour for the things that we have yet to do. Thank you. We talk a lot about testing and commissioning, and it can seem a bit mysterious at times, but this is to give you a bit of an idea of the breakdown of the testing and commissioning stages that we have. We're currently well advanced on stage 3, which is site installation tests, and site acceptance includes the commissioning of the systems that we have. These are all the station systems, security, CCTV, ventilation, air conditioning, fire. So the list of systems, building management systems, is extensive. We're pretty advanced in 3B as well across the 3 stations, but those works are extensive. And then it's the integration of all those systems together and how they function together and will they all work together as opposed to working individually. So that's work that's in front of us, validating the systems and testing them. Multiple systems have to interact, as I mentioned, and then we run scenarios such as station evacuation and how the systems all function together in an evacuation situation, which is critical, obviously. The train testing itself is going really well. This is 5A at the bottom there, largely complete with over 5,000 kilometres of train testing has already occurred, 51 certified drivers for Auckland One Rail. So a lot of these things, some of them are working in parallel, some of them cannot and have to work sequentially, but there's good progress being made. So that's on the engineering focused testing, and then we have the operations focused phases, stage 5B trial operations across stations and tunnels. Emergency operations, as I mentioned previously on the other slide, working with our partners in emergency services. And then stage 7 is working very closely with Auckland Transport and Auckland One Rail and Kiwi Rail as we then trial the operations against a network, against a timetable, running at 18 trains per hour on the timetable, including running against a partial timetable and then the full timetable across the entire network. And that's therefore testing that the system, our systems will work against a normal operating environment. So that's really critical. And that work will take place in the first quarter of 2026. Then, of course, the handover of the assets to Kiwi Rail and Auckland Transport with the support of our sponsors. And that's providing not just the physical assets, but the paperwork I mentioned and evidence of successful testing. There are a number of what we call safety stage gates to go through before then. I will leave it there, Chair, and John and I are both happy to take questions.
Well, thank you very much for outlining that. Mr. Bridgman, are there any comments you'd like to make?
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to reinforce the comment about the emergency services, if I can. That's working very well, and it's in contrast to some of the projects I've been involved with internationally, where often it's hard to get those services lined up in commissioning a project of this nature. So it's commendable for the team and both those involved from the services side that they've come together to make that work. And similarly, the One Client Alliance, which is Kiwi Rail, AT, ourselves and Auckland One Rail, supported by the contractor, is an initiative that I think Mr. Potter suggested at the beginning of last year. And it's proven to be hugely successful in terms of corralling the teams towards a united day one operations. It's been a very valuable initiative on the project, and it's proven its value multiple times so far.
Thank you for that. It's open now for questions, and the first question is Councillor Ferry.
Kia ora. Sorry, just pushing the buttons at my end. Thank you very much. My question was around the hardship fund issues that came up for particularly some of the retailers around the work areas, construction areas, not just the stations. And just wondering if you wouldn't mind giving a little quick update on where that's up to as we get to a point where a lot of the cones are going away and things like that. Is that winding down? How is that going? Just interested to understand that a little bit better. Thanks.
Morning, Councillor. I can comment on that. We mentioned the urban realm works are going very well. Take an example at Mungafo, the works are really complete now there. So road closures or cones should start to be removed, and fencing will be moved as well. Not completely, but at least moved where it can be moved closer to the stations. So Mangawhai is going, well, it's complete, and Koronga Ahape is making really good progress too. I was looking at an update this morning, Councillor, and they're very close too. And as I mentioned, if you take Beresford Square as an example, trying to move the fencing back where we can. There's some Project K works that AT are undertaking next to some of the stations, so you have to factor that in. That's actually both at Mercury Lane entrance and at Beresford Square entrance, where there are those Project K works. So we can bring some of the fencing back where we can to allow better access and less disruption. We are in those discussions with Auckland Transport at the moment, and where we can do that efficiently and safely, we will try and do so. On the Targeted Hardship Fund, the $12 million fund, we currently have distributed about 9.8 million of that, so there's still some remaining funds. We expect to continue to make payments on that fund to certain businesses before we'll continue through the balance of the year as is required based on the level of disruption that's still there.
Cool, and just follow up from that, and sorry I've got a teenager making toast in the background if there's a bit of background noise. Study leave at the moment. So are the hardship requests sort of starting to tail off now that things are starting to get closer to what the new normal will be? Or are there some businesses that are still needing a high level of support? Thanks.
Yes, no, it has been tailing off for a little while now. Just as the urban realm works reduce or come to completion, it has accordingly. So of the number of applications and businesses that are still eligible for the Targeted Hardship Fund, Councillor, it's still going on, but it's materially reduced at this point. And we would expect that to continue over the balance of 2025.
Great, thank you. And I guess just to note, Chair, I'd be really interested once we get, to the end of this process, and some comprehensive reflections on that part of this project. It's the first of its kind in the country, the hardship fund, I mean, and I think it would be really useful for us to understand that better. How it's worked, what could be done in the future with projects of scale, because I think we're going to need to look seriously at it for other projects. Thank you.
Thank you. The Mayor, Wayne Brown.
I've got a couple of questions. On your slide project update, just to make absolutely sure that there's not some weasel words in there, it says, formal handover of the project will be achieved in 2026 and time for passengers to ride the train next year. I hope that's not next year after 26, or is that next year 2026?
No, definitely 2026.
That's a slightly dodgy wording, but I've learnt to be careful with the wording from the transport sector. Okay, that's good, confirming that. And then with regard to the hardship fund, you've paid out 9.8 to 65 small businesses at an average of 150k a shot. And that's quite interesting because many of those businesses tell me that their applications have been repeatedly declined over 5 years. And so I do think we need to see some visibility of that. You've still got 2.2 million to go, but I think we owe it to them. And also, I know that you mentioned how it's been cleared at Mangawhai. Well, there was no businesses there to be upset anyhow, but Albert Street's still repeatedly fenced and re-fenced. There seems to be, I've been here looking out the window for 3 years and the road's still got another ceiling to come yet. And so how can we not speed that up or do something? It doesn't seem to be any constructions associated with underground left there, but endlessly, is it AT's fault or is it yours fault? The footpaths have done again and again. I can still tell that we've still got to have another seal coat on that road because the curbs are still 25 mils above the actual road seal. So is it possible to bring that forward? It's annoying for everybody up there, and these poor buggers have had their businesses wrecked for a long time. and it's not the first time I've raised that. So I just want to know if we can bit more about who missed out and why, and a bit more focusing on the pain above the ground, really. Well, we've pounced around and done ludicrously expensive ceilings in Tiwai Horatuyo, and we haven't fixed the bloody road above. So a bit more of a reassessment of what's more important at the moment would be good.
We'll definitely look into that. Yeah, I mean, there is some sequencing with the works that's required. There is a little bit more disruption perhaps to go down near the Bluestone Wall, the Wyndham Street intersection there. We've got some additional works to do. But it is part of a program and a sequence of works that's logical, and but we'll certainly see if we can accelerate some of that.
I'm just going to ask Mr. Potter, as our director, whether or not that it's anticipated in response to Councillor Ferry and also from the Mayor, what we can take in terms of lessons learned from this process.
Thank you, Chair. The CRL board under John is starting a lessons learned exercise to capture all sorts of things out of this out of the project, and we can add in there the hardship fund, which I put that on the list. I think that'd be worthwhile including lessons learned around how that's been assessed and administered and so on and so forth, and pick up the other questions which the Mayor has raised as well.
Thank you for that. Councillor Lee.
Thank you. Just three quick questions. First of all, I want to acknowledge and thank Mr. Brocky for the assistance he's given to my constituents over the past couple of years, so thank you for that. In regard to that, I have a constituent who has a business on the corner of Albert and Wyndham Street, and 3 years ago that whole area was dug up and coned off, the usual, and then it was completed and sealed, and things after many years were returned to normal, and the business began to recover. And now it's dug up all over again. Is that, first of all, is that CRL related, or is it somebody else piling on? This is outside the Shakespeare Hotel.
If it is something that you need to come back on, we will make sure that Councillor Lee, but
Don't
it
have
does
to answer
appear
now.
to be those, whether it's the CRL Limited or whether it is other arms of council.
You can, I'm getting messages that patronage has collapsed, and these things do seem to have almost like a direct impact. We have another person, not CRL related, Watercare related, on the corner of Wellesley and Queen, and his business patronage has collapsed, and he's going out of business opposite Smith and Coe's. But anyway, once a prime spot. Leave that. In regard, further along the road, just looking at the slide, there is, thank you for the inspection trip you arranged for us with Mr. Potter a few weeks ago of the Tawai Horatu station. It's impressively big, almost half a kilometre from end to end, entrance to entrance, or probably more, you'd know. Why is this imposing big black box on Victoria Street, which is totally unsympathetic to the character shops, historic shops opposite, and completely shadow the poor shops that are behind it? Why do you need, in such a huge station, need a big black surface blocks, which is located in the carriageway of Victoria Street? Or is that one of the benefits perhaps people consider?
Mr. Brocky.
Councillor, you're not referring to the ventilation shaft in Kingston Street,
No.
the station?
I was talking about the station next to Federal Street that's been there for about a year and a half.
We can talk about it later. One more question.
Sorry.
We note the members of Parliament and the Mayor and Deputy and so on were able to actually ride the train, which is impressive. But I'm getting messages from people, when can the ordinary people get to use that train? You've talked about 2026, but
Yes.
there's still no deadline being offered at this stage. Are you getting close to actually finalising an actual opening date? Or because 6 months ago I asked this question and the answer was 2026, no detail.
So your answer today, Mr. Brocky?
Yes. Yes, certainly ride the train sometime in 2026. I mean, Councillor, we're trying to go as quickly as we can do, but just this critical part of the systems testing and commissioning is complex, and we certainly don't want to mislead you either, or the public. So it's important that we can give you something with a lot of confidence, and at this stage we've still got a lot of work to do, and we'd like to get further through that work over the next few months, and then we'll have a better idea of how we're progressing. Be misleading otherwise. And we'd like to have more confidence when we talk to you about that, but we're still confident about opening in 2026 and trying to go as quickly as we can do. You know, the work on site is going well. As I mentioned earlier, there's no major red flags with the work so far, but that doesn't mean we won't have one. I think we always operate on the fact that, on the basis that there will be some surprises as we go through the final phase of the works. The systems part of it and the stations was always going to be the most complex part of the project, and so we're a little bit cautious and hesitant about talking about dates. But as we get through some of that critical work over the next few months, we will have more confidence.
Thank you for that, Mr. Brocky.
Can I just say, for most people, that's not at this stage, coming towards the end of 2025, that's not quite good enough, and I think CRL will need to be a lot more precise pretty soon. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Just to help you, Mr. Brocky, can I ask you a question a different way? When you looked to discuss with Sydney Metro about lessons learned from what they've done, is it true that they suggested to you that you not be too clear as to the start date for members of the public, because in doing so could raise expectations that you couldn't deliver? Is it true that their advice to you was keep it general until you absolutely know that it's going to be the right month at the right time?
Deputy Mayor, yes, no, that's absolutely true. In fact, every project we've met and talked with, whether it be Crossrail in the UK or Melbourne Metro more recently, have all said the same thing. Yes, absolutely.
I suppose what I'm saying, Madam Chair, is I don't want Aucklanders to have concern that they are not getting a more specific date. I would like Aucklanders to have the confidence that 2026 is the date, and until we know specifically anything more around the month, that we leave it to the year.
Thank you for that. That appears to be all the questions. So I'm going to move that we receive the report on the CRL project and note that progress is being made. Do I have a seconder on that? Thank you very much, Mr. Bridgman. Thank you, Mr. Brocky. It's now open for discussion amongst councillors. Thank you. Are there any comments? If not, Councillor Hills.
Kia ora, Councillor Fletcher, and probably because I'm assuming it's your last time you present to us this term, but I just want to know that this has been a massive, difficult disruption to our city, but it will be transformational, and people at the end of next year will be wondering where the next big project like this is, because it will be significant and it will be fantastic, and the thousands of people who've worked on it, I hope, are really proud, and I hope they see what's shaping up to be as quite a significant step change for our city, and all the areas around which we know are getting $5 to $6 billion worth of private investment coming along those stations will pay dividends. It doesn't feel like it right now with the economy across New Zealand having difficulties and that stress showing in the city centre, but I know that this project will bring so many Aucklanders much closer, much easier to the city and around the city. So I just want to acknowledge all the teams, and I hope that your spreading that word back to the workers who are doing the actual work in and under the ground. So, kia ora.
Thank you, Councillor Hills. Gentlemen, if you'd like to retire, withdraw now. Councillor Dalton.
Thank you. And just along the same vein, really, to thank everyone that's been involved, gentlemen, and all those who have gone before you and are still there alongside you. It's been a magnificent, magnificent project, and it's certainly had its ups and downs, no doubt about that, and it's had its critics along the way, and hopefully everyone will be moving to a phase where they can celebrate this and celebrate the outcomes that will happen for Auckland, for all of Auckland. I remember when Len Brown introduced this as when he in particular introduced it as a project, that I was opposed to it. I didn't see any benefit for the South. We had more pressing issues. You know, you grow older and wiser, and you get a bit more information and you change your views on things, and that's okay. That's about growth as a person. And I certainly can see the benefit it will have for our residents in the South, and the difference it's going to make for the city centre, to the businesses that have suffered, and it's been so difficult combined with COVID, and you know, the 5-year recovery from that is still so stressful for people. But this project in particular will bring us some new hope, something to look forward to, and may we continue to build our city and not be afraid of road cones and closures. I know it impacts on businesses, and that is the downside for sure, but after so many years of not enough investment, let's continue to build this city into the international city that it should be, a thriving city for people to live and work and play. That's the vision that we have for Auckland. Kia ora, thank you.
Thank you. That concludes those who wish to comment. So, sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I support you, Councillor. Thank you for that. I think a couple of things I will say. I was fortunate enough to go to Rome. They're building a train system there, and I went 5 years later back to Rome, and they're still building it. And I kind of said to myself, "Yay! There's another city in the world that's got continued disruption. It's not just us." But I think the point I'm making is that these big projects, especially when they are below ground, you know, do cause a lot of disruption. I think one of the problems that we had is that we weren't able to deliver some of our big infrastructure projects during COVID, as other cities in the world did. I do share the concerns around the businesses in the central city. No doubt about that. We've had a fund. I'm very surprised that the fund hasn't been fully subscribed already. But that saying, I do support the project, and I think it will be transformational for this city. I think what we've all got to do now is look at how we plan around it. But thank you for what you're doing, and just remember, Auckland is that you're not the only city that has disruption for major below-the-ground infrastructure. Thank you.
I also wish to join in the thanks. There were a lot of people who were opposed to the CRL. That was part of a greater vision for Auckland. I think there'll be a lot of people in favour of it once it's opened. So thank you for your hard work. I'm going to put it. All those in favour say aye. To the contrary, say no. That is carried. Thank you. Our next item is